Melbourne Fringe is coming up in October. It promotes cultural diversity, empowering artists to embrace their creative potential. Secret Girl Stuff is one of the many offerings at this year's Fringe Festival, and my next guest is the writer and director of Secret Girl Stuff. Welcome to Showtime, Mikaela.
Thank you.
So, you're the co-founder of Cats in the Cupboard Productions, and you also run drama classes. Where does all your creative passion come from?
So my creative passion comes from a little crappy black box room at Newcastle High School. So I'm from Newcastle in New South Wales, and I started drama as a high school elective thinking that'll be super fun. It'll be one of the easier ones. And it kind of stemmed from there. It was this little room. I'm also a fly part, so if you hear any planes going over, we've got that going on. But it started...
Because you're not in Melbourne right now, are you? You're on another project in another part of the world.
I'm in Sydney, so we've got What Every Girl Should Know on as a part of the Sydney Fringe Festival, which is super exciting. But yeah, sorry, it started in high school and it continued throughout high school. It started as an elective, and then I think in year 12 I thought I might do a drama course for 6 weeks in Sydney, and I applied to it thinking it was a 6-week course. Turns out it was a university degree. So I'd signed up for that audition, I got in, they offered me a bachelor's degree at the Academy of Film, Theatre and Television, and suddenly I was moving to Sydney within 3 months, so it was pretty crazy.
That's what a ride that must have been. And you've mentioned Sydney Fringe, and of course Secret Girl Stuff has been on at Sydney Fringe last year, and it's about to come to Melbourne Fringe. What do you think it is about Fringe festivals that really help creatives as well as audiences?
Fringe Festival is this incredible opportunity in every state that has a fringe, where young artists can test out the waters with their new work. We tested Secret Girl Stuff, which was our first production as Cats and Cub Productions, and we had this crazy overwhelming experience. We sold out every show and then oversold 2 out of the 3 shows, so we had to add in some new seats. And I think having audiences come in to experience Fringe is one of the greatest ways to immerse yourself in theatre. We had so many audience members come and they said, this is our first theatre show we've ever seen and we're going to go see so many more. And we have one person that came to see our Fringe show. She is now a reviewer, and we kind of got a little bit, I don't know, flustered thinking our show made someone want to create a career in the arts. So that was really, really cool. I think Fringe is just such a great way for everyone to immerse themselves into the arts.
So obviously we want everyone to come and see Secret Girl Stuff at Melbourne Fringe, but there are so many amazing works that you can see. I think there are over 400 events at Melbourne Fringe in 2024. What advice would you give a newbie, someone like the person you mentioned just then, trying to navigate the Fringe website and trying to work out what shows they should go and see? How would they start?
So the way that I would recommend starting is, if you have a show that you want to see, you can head on to Fringe and you can start scrolling through all of the different categories. So I think you've got cabaret, you've got theatre, you've got musicals, you've got comedy, a whole bunch of different genres that you can have a look at. There's also so many different theatre Instagrams and things like that you can head on to, and if you just search theatre on Instagram, I'm sure in a hashtag, or hashtag Melbourne Fringe on Instagram is a great way to find all of these amazing shows.
And of course Melbourne Fringe itself on its socials highlight shows, so that's also a good way to sort of work out what some of the shows are. And as you say, once you're there and you're in the performance space, usually there are a couple of different shows on the one night, and there are a few different shows over Melbourne Fringe. So there are quite a few ways, aren't there, to discover new stuff.
Yeah. Another really great way, with like what you said with Instagram, with Melbourne Fringe highlighting a few of their productions, there's also TikTok, which is a new one that people are promoting their shows on. You go on to TikTok and you might search Melbourne Fringe, and you've got the cast doing like viral dances and things like that. I know our cast, What Every Girl Should Know, just did the Apple dance by Charlie XCX on TikTok in their costumes with a few of the props, and they showed us and they were pretty proud.
What Every Girl Should Know, of course, is the project that you're working on right now in Sydney.
Yes, it is. It's a really exciting one. Yeah.
Look, it feels like I shouldn't even be asking this question, but what exactly is Secret Girl's business?
Okay, so Secret Girl Stuff is And nine.
Oh my goodness.
It's
I'm going to ask that question again.
It's all good.
It feels like I'm not even allowed to ask this question, but what exactly is Secret Girl Stuff?
So, the show itself is a 90-minute episodic narrative that is non-linear, and it has multiple scenes in different areas of the transition from girlhood to womanhood. Secret Girl Stuff shouldn't be a secret. And so the title itself is a play on the words where we have all of these really secretive things going on in the female experience that shouldn't be a secret. And I think that there's a really common misconception with feminist shows that it's for women. But Secret Girl Stuff does this really amazing thing where it's about women written by a woman, but it's completely for everyone.
Now, Mikaela, I've got to ask, I read somewhere that there is some connection between Secret Girl Stuff and One Direction.
Yeah, okay. So I am a massive I'm a massive One Direction fan, and I've followed all of the members since they went solo. But we have this one really great scene performed by one of our actors, Leisha Gunawan. And she gets up on stage, it's her, she's all on her own, there's a spotlight coming down her, she's dressed in One Direction themed pajamas, and she discusses how every generation has something that impacts them. There's the death of Diana, there's the marriage of Diana and Charles, there's the death of Bowie, there's so many incredible things that have happened throughout history. And then in this one scene, we talk about how One Direction splitting up on March 25th, 2015 was our generational issue that defined a very large group of young women.
I love that milestone. I've never thought about One Direction in those. I remember Diana and Charles getting married. I remember that I mean, I wasn't at the wedding, but I was watching it on TV. I was a kid. People talk about Neil Armstrong's first setting foot on the moon. People talk about devastating things like 9/11, and it never occurred to me that that first performance of One Direction is a milestone event, but absolutely it is, and why shouldn't it be?
Yeah, I was born on the 20th of July, so I was born on the anniversary of the first man on the moon, and so that's a really big thing for my family. That's kind of their generational event, because they had their first granddaughter born on the day that the anniversary of the man stepping on the moon. And then I came along with my show and went, well, this is mine, so enjoy that. And I think all of my family came to see the show, and they left going, is that really your generational event? And I just thought, yeah, I think music and the arts are so important. They shape a person big time, I think. And I think that was one of the moments for me that shaped me. And I thought, that's really sad. It's really heartbreaking they all decided to break up. But it's this minute in the grand scheme of things. There's so many other horrible things going on in the world. But that, I think at the time when I was 12, 13, that was my trauma.
But, that old overused cliche, one door closes, another door opens. I mean, there are so many One Directioners that have gone on to really, really successful musical careers, and of course all of the inspiration that they've created, just like the work that you're doing now. Tell me, how do you get something like Secret Girl Stuff from an idea through to something that you've actually staged successfully in Sydney and about to bring to Melbourne?
So Secret Girl Stuff started on an evening where I went out with a few of my girlfriends, and we sat around a table, and one of the women at the table started talking about a relationship that was breaking down and the reasons why it was breaking down, but she very quickly went, but we won't talk about it. And everyone was like, okay, and we moved on to the next thing. But I sat there thinking, why aren't we talking about it? What's going on? Is it a personal thing? How come? And she said, oh no, it's just, it's my own thing. And I thought, how many times do women tend to brush things off and say, yes, but that's my own problem? Especially, I think the older generation have been taught to keep things quiet that are selectively woman. And that's what the show started with, was one of my friends saying, but we won't talk about it. And then later in the evening, we after a few drinks, we actually started talking about it a little bit more, about female topics that are deemed taboo. And we kind of realized no one talks about a lot of things that so many women go through. So I went home and I wrote the first scene. I wrote the opening scene, which is about the first time that you get your period, and how the first thing that someone tells you to do is to shut up and to get on with it, because it is a normal part of being a woman. And it is a normal part of being a woman. But it is that idea that women are told to sit down and shut up when it comes to their bodies. I think their reproductive systems. We've got men making choices about their reproductive health systems, and I think that's where Secret Girl stuff came from. It was the idea that we need to not shut up anymore. We need to start talking about it, and we need to let the younger generations know that what they're talking about is okay, because I know that the older generations, my granny, she doesn't think it's okay to talk about womanly things.
You know, as a husband and also a father of a daughter, it's such an inspiring thing that, you know, people like you are in the world normalizing these conversations and bringing them into the spotlight, but in a really, I think, supportive and respectful way, because I think there's nothing better for physical health, for mental health, and for our society as a whole than sharing problems, and through sharing problems we share solutions, and surely that helps unite us at a time when there is so much division in our world.
Yeah, and on the topic of, you brought up your family, a lot of what's in Secret Girl stuff has come from people I know. My mum kept a journal when she was pregnant with me, and it's got a whole bunch of little diary entries, and I've scattered them throughout the play. So we might have a really funny scene, and then we'll talk about that. And eventually these scenes connect into my mum's postpartum depression after she had me. And it's this really, it's a heartbreaking scene. When my mum came to see it, it was the first time that she came up to me afterwards, and she said, that's the first time where I've actually, you know, I'm 22 now, and the show came out when I was 20. And she said, this is the first time in 20 years where I've actually sat back and thought I needed help. And it was okay that I needed help with postpartum depression. So that made me really emotional.
Wow. What an incredible connection that must be for a mother and daughter. But also, I mean, as I'm hearing that, I can't help but reflect on how many other people in the audience that you don't know were equally touched by that and had those conversations with their loved ones after coming to see your work.
Yeah, so we've done the show twice. We did it for Sydney Fringe 2023, and then we had it in February this year. And after the February season, on closing night, I had one girl come up to me, and we have a few scenes about sexual assault and rape culture, and she came up to me and she said, I don't mean to trauma dump on you, but I want to tell you that this show I'm going to report something that's happened to me, and this show has made me realize that I can do that, and I have the strength, that I can find the strength to do it. And so I told the cast that recently, that is what they were able to do, because I know I wrote it and I directed it, but I think seeing it performed is such a profound experience for an audience member, and to have someone take something that happened to them, relate it to the show, and be influenced to do something that they should be so proud of. I don't know, it just made me so emotional that that's how the show touched someone that deeply, that they felt that they had the courage to go and report a really horrible thing that happened to them in the past.
That's incredibly powerful. I'm sort of choking up listening to you relaying that story, but it's also it's I think also a credit to you to put your story out there and to create your own vulnerability and share your journey in order to pave that way for other people like the person that you mentioned before, to be able to for them to feel empowered to do what they did because of what you did. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's just the power of the arts. I think you could go and see a show and you will have this feeling. I get it when I see a musical. I will sit at Capitol or Lyric Theatre here in Sydney, and I will go and watch Hamilton, or I'll go and watch something, and I'll sit there and I'll have this gut feeling that this is what I'm supposed to do. in my life, I'm supposed to put art out in front of audiences. And I think that's just the power of theatre, that it gives you such a strong feeling of connection to anything in your life, and how you can relate it back.
And that's why, from my point of view, fringe festivals like Melbourne Fringe that we're talking about right now is so important, because without these festivals that scaffold, that support creatives in our community, so many of these stories would just never see the light of day.
Yeah, I think independent theatre as well. So Flight Path is an independent theatre, and it's a huge supporter of Sydney Fringe. So we've done all of our Sydney Fringe shows here, but Flight Path has this really incredible way of bringing shows in that are discussing topics that don't typically come up, and that's what we do as well. Every Fringe festival, almost every show we do, is female centered, and it doesn't mean that it's not for other genders, but it's giving a voice to the female experience. It's giving a voice to those that feel like they are voiceless in the world.
I'm chatting with Mikaela Corrigan, writer and director of Secret Girl Stuff. As part of Melbourne's Fringe, it's playing at Irene Mitchell Studios from the 16th to the 19th of October. To book tickets, go to melbournefringe.com.au. Mikaela, thank you so much for the chat, and all the very best for Secret Girl Stuff.
Thank you so much, Andrew. That means a lot.